Well, well, well. You're obsessed with self-help books too, huh? Naturally, you would grab onto those books, right? Because why should you waste your time reading stories when you can spend that time doing something else that's more useful? Like improving your life. Also, if I want entertainment, why should I read when I could just watch a movie? Same difference. Look, I get it, that's totally valid, but what if I told you that those silly stories can do everything a self-help book does and more? Stories go way back in the ancient times. And do you know what the point of the stories are? It's to learn something. Even in the Bible times, Jesus used parables for teaching to get his point straight. Yes, rules are more straightforward, like thou shalt not lie, but sometimes people just don't understand of how not adhering to rules can have consequences. This is where stories come into play. Scenarios are made for us to understand the intention behind those rules of life. Going back to the example, one of the many stories that fit into this lesson is The Boy Who Cried Wolf. It's a very popular story. I'm pretty sure you know this already. In case you don't know the story, it's basically about this shepherd boy who would constantly prank on the civilians that a wolf is coming to get them and his sheep to the point where the civilians are fed up. And then one day a wolf came to this boy and his sheep for real. And this boy kept screaming at the civilians for help, but the civilians were like, haha, nice try, boy. And I forgot what the ending was. I think he died because the wolf attacked him. Point is, don't steal. Don't steal? Cool. Now that we know that fiction helps us shape our understanding of morality, here's something else, something better that nonfiction cannot pull off. I have never experienced being traumatized in war, or having divorced parents, or joining a cult. So, how do I understand and empathize those who have been through that? Fiction books, baby! When you're reading a novel, you don't just watch someone else's life unfold, you live it with them. It's almost like you get to see the world through their eyes. And this is great because you don't get to live many lives, right? You only have one, and therefore you only have one perspective, and that is yours. But by reading books, you get to, in a way, broaden your perspectives by living their lives. That's always a good thing to do. You'd get to understand what people are going through. And this is exactly why fiction helps us increase empathy. I remember reading Heaven by Miyako Kawakami, which is about this boy and girl who are constantly and severely bullied at school. And I get to see how that impacts and or caused by their personal lives. It's really sad. If you watch K-dramas with bullying scenes, it's that bad or possibly worse. At this point you might be thinking, "See? You see? Why should I read when I can watch the exact same thing?" When you're watching a movie, everything is laid out for you. The visuals, the sound, etc. Convenient? Absolutely. And there's nothing wrong with that. However, that is considered a passive form of entertainment. Books are the opposite of that. Why? Because you have to be engaged in the entire process, right? You get to read, therefore, you get to visualize things yourself. You get to use your imagination. And this is interesting because you could be reading the same exact novel that everybody else reads, but each person has their own different, unique visual take on the story. I remember reading To All the Boys I've Loved before by Jenny Han, and then I imagined Peter Kavinsky looking a certain way. And then the movie came out the next year, and Noah Centineo is nothing like how I pictured Peter Kavinsky. Not that I'm complaining though. In terms of Laura Jean, there's already a girl on the cover, so I just imagined her as Laura Jean. Anyway, point is, I'm not saying that books are better than movies or vice versa, they're just different. By the way, another benefit of reading fiction is that because fiction uses a more descriptive language, you'd get to learn more vocabulary in fiction than you would in nonfiction. Just keep that in mind. Self-help books are great. Don't worry, they're still useful. I am still a self-help junkie myself. I mean, sometimes you just need a more instructional and straightforward way of learning, right? But please don't sleep on fiction books and its own way of teaching you on self-improvement. I hope this convinced you, self-help fanatics, to grab a fiction book for once. Or many. If you have any book recommendations or current favorites, fiction, nonfiction, whatever, please let me know in the comments. I would love to see them. My latest nonfiction read is Feel Good Productivity by Ali Abdal. If you read a lot of self-help books, I'm pretty sure you know this already. It's a nice little fresh take on productivity. And that reminds me of Slow Productivity by Cal Newport. I haven't read that yet. If you have, let me know if it's good. For fiction, my latest favorite is The Blood of Olympus by Rick Riordan. It's a part of the second Percy Jackson series called Heroes of Olympus, which I did a video on, by the way, if you want to check out. Subscribe if you want. I make a lot of videos about books, apparently. By the way, did you know that if I say subscribe, the button glows? Try, look, subscribe. See? Now watch what happens when you click on the subscribe button if it glows. Okay, bye.